Good afternoon. We'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historical shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area. We recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. The following meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is a public meeting to consider development proposals that don't comply with the provisions of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw. My name is Liz Danielson, and I'm the chair of the committee. I'd like to introduce the members of the committee: John Rogers, public member; Christine Sharp, public member; Sabrina Richards, councillor for Ward 2, and public member Fergus McLaren from the northern part of the community. In addition, we're joined by our planner, Sean O'Callaghan, and our chief building official, Greg Moore. Mr. O'Callaghan will provide a brief overview of each application, after which the applicant or their agent will have an opportunity to address the committee. Following this, anyone else who wishes to speak to the application, either in support or against, will be given the opportunity to do so. The committee will then discuss the proposal and be given the opportunity to ask questions of both our planner and the applicant. The committee will then vote to grant, refuse, or defer the proposal. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda for today, please? Member Rogers, Member McLaren.
Moved by John Rogers, second by Fergus McLaren. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting agenda of June 28th, 2024.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes from May 31st?
Christine.
Moved by Christine, seconded by John Rogers.
Moved by Christine Sharp, seconded by John Rogers. Be it resolved the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting minutes of May 31st, 2024.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today?
For me on the second application, just a personal relationship with the applicants.
Okay, thank you. I think we might have a form that you've got to sign and after the fact.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for that. So we'll enter into our new business, and the first application is by Kennedy on Boshkong Lake.
This property is located at 1072 Lowry Lane on Boshkong Lake. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 0.38 acres in area with 33 meters of frontage on Boshkong Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, a shed, and a dock. The applicants are proposing to construct a 1,044.29 square foot addition on the rear of the existing dwelling. Existing site infrastructure, including the driveway and septic system, along with the irregular shoreline and the current location of the legal non-complying dwelling, do restrict the available building location for the proposed addition that would comply with the zoning bylaw. The following variances are being requested. The first from section 4.14.95 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 60% to 111% for the purpose of constructing a 1,044.29 square foot addition, as well as from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the southerly interior side lot line from 3 meters to 2.5 meters for the purpose of constructing the 1,044.29 square foot addition. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the Boshkong Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received, and a letter of support was received from the adjacent landowner the proposed addition would be encroaching towards. Staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed addition is not located closer than 24 meters from the high water mark and 2.5 meters from the interior side lot line, prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Any questions for Sean on his report? I understand Mr. Kennedy is here to speak to the application.
Here, Paul Kennedy, thank you, Sean. I don't, thank you. I don't have much, not too much to add. Everything's pretty much said there by Sean. I'm happy to take questions if anybody has any.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kennedy? This one seems relatively straightforward. Is there anyone else here or online who wishes to speak to this application? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the application? Member Rogers. Member Richards.
Moved by John Rogers, second by Sabrina Richards, be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby grants minor variance application AHMV 00924 to seek relief from section 4.14.95 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 60% to 111% for the purpose of constructing a 1,044.29 square foot addition. And from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the southerly interior side lot line from 3 meters to 2.5 meters for the proposed addition. Conditional on confirmation being provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling addition is not located closer than 24 meters from the high water mark and 2.5 meters from the interior side lot line prior to any clearing, site alteration, or the issuance of a building permit. 2, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's carried.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, and you're welcome. Just a reminder that there's a 20-day appeal period,
20 days, sorry.
so no construction should take place until that period has been over.
Right. Okay, Sean, you'll mail this out with the conditions, right? Will I get the
Yes, yeah.
conditions so I can have them in front of me? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Wait, sorry, I know it's been approved, sorry, Sean, the condition of the OLS. Is that before I get a permit or after I build?
So it would be before we can issue a building permit.
So I would need my site plan to have an OLS confirm.
Yeah,
My site plan is, they're gonna verify the dimensions are what they say they are.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have to get an OLS like now.
It would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you to the committee. Have a good day.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
The next application is by Blanchette on Maple Lake in Stanhope.
This property is located at 1090 Fry Lane. The lands are zoned shoreline residential 2 and environmental protection and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 1.16 acres in area with 33.7 meters of frontage on Maple Lake. The surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, 2 sheds, and a dock. The owner is proposing to recognize an illegally constructed 987 square foot 2-story dwelling. The dwelling was constructed 14.4 meters from the high water mark. The dwelling has been constructed within the EP designated land shown on the zoning schedule. However, they have provided a letter of opinion from a qualified ecologist, which is attached to this report, which speaks to the EP designation, and it is not actually present on the site. The applicant had originally applied to reconstruct a dwelling on the footprint of the previous legal non-complying dwelling on the subject lands. The plans originally submitted for a new dwelling included a proposed loft space. Staff review of the plans identified the proposed loft would increase the percentage of gross floor area beyond what the zoning bylaw would permit, and that a minor variance would be necessary. The builder did advise that the loft would be removed from the plans in order to bring the gross floor area into the permitted expansion permitted within the zoning bylaw. Revised plans were submitted and a building permit was issued. Building staff, upon completion of a framing inspection, did observe the loft space had in fact been constructed not in compliance with the approved building plans and in contravention of the township zoning bylaw. A stop work order was immediately issued. The applicant was advised that the loft space will need to be removed or that a minor variance application must be approved prior to any further work taking place on the subject lands. Staff are not supportive of the proposed minor variance to permit the loft space, as there is no planning rationale and there are other locations on the subject lands where the dwelling could have been constructed with the loft space further from the high water mark and in compliance with the township zoning bylaw. So the relief being sought today is from section 4.14.93 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 30% to 49.4% for the purpose of constructing a 987 square foot dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands and to the Maple Beach Cameron Lakes Area Property Owners Association. One letter of objection was received and 3 letters of support have been received. Staff are recommending refusal of the proposed minor variance for the following reasons. The variance is not minor in nature. It is not desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building or structure. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is not maintained. The general intent and purpose of the official plan is not maintained. There's no justification for the proposed increase in gross floor area for the dwelling, and the dwelling could be constructed in a location that would comply with the zoning bylaw.
Any questions for Sean on his report? Member Rogers.
Through you, Madam Chair, the appropriate location, where would that be on the site plan? Is it further towards the easement or?
Let me just open the site plan. So the easement that's shown on the site plan has actually been removed. It's no longer in place, so there is room where it could be pushed back further.
Okay, thank you.
I understand that both the agent and owner are here to speak to the application. You are
Bill Scott of the Highlands, the builder as well.
the,
builder.
oh, okay, sorry, I thought you said donor. I thought, wow, that's nice.
Yeah, they could probably use a couple, but.
So if you would like to speak to the committee?
Yes, I would actually. Going back to some of Sean's points. The owner is proposing to recognize a legally constructed 987 square foot 2-story building. The foundation framework of the structure was granted as a legal building permit. Roofing joists erupted over the kitchen.
I'm sorry, sir, if you wouldn't mind just
Slowing down a bit.
slowing down just a little
Sure.
bit.
The foundation, the framework of the structure was granted as a legal building permit. What we did was the roofing joists erupting over the kitchen were not on the plans. That I'll take entire responsibility for that. Adding approximately 297 square feet of potential floor space if finished. It remains the same ground floor square footage as the original cottage. And what the approved building permit was issued for, the owner is proposing to recognize and allow the space above the kitchen to be finished, which would otherwise be airspace. As far as the review of the plans, identified the proposed loft would increase the percentage of the gross floor area beyond what the zoning bylaw would permit, and a minor variance would be necessary, yes. And on that recommendation, this application is a request to allow a minor variance to finish what would otherwise be airspace above the kitchen and put the gross square footage at 19.4% over what the zoning bylaw allows. Please note, it does not increase the gross floor area, but not the ground floor area, so there is no impact on the surrounding lands. There is no change to any part of the original cottage's ground floor footprint or the exterior of the approved plan for the home. When it's talking about section 4.14, seeking relief from the comprehensive zoning bylaw, and yes, as per the recommendation from the municipality, Note that this is based on the distance to the water in the side left corner of lot line at 47.6 feet. Because of the bay and the front of the building is mostly in excess of 80 feet. It's just that if it was at 49 feet, I believe the percentages would change. So there's a 1.5 foot difference on the side. The dwelling has been constructed within the EP designated lands. That's not the case. We've had, as Sean mentioned, it's not in EP, it's not environmentally protected land that the house is built on. It was an existing cottage that we took the same footprint from, and it's not environmentally protected. Points of refusal of applicant in response to the variance is not minor in nature. The variance requested is for 19.4% increase in the allowable gross square footage. A variance is requested for adding a loft that is within the original ground floor square footage and utilizes airspace that would otherwise be open above the kitchen. It does not exceed the maximum height requirements set out in the bylaws. As far as there's no desire for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure, it sits entirely within the existing ground floor footprint of the previous cottage. The use of a four-season building that will be primary residence for a couple that are moving permanently to the area that would be the Blanchetts and continuing their home painting business. When it comes to the general intent and purpose of zoning bylaw, there is no increase in the non-compliance. There isn't beyond the 19.4% variance request. With respect to the dwelling, and any addition maintains as a setback from the high water mark, and it does. If the reconstruction of a dwelling would result in an increase to the gross floor area of the building, that the entire building or structure maintains existing setback from the high water mark, and it does. Approval for a sewage disposal system is obtained, was granted last fall for a 3-bedroom septic system. Which even if there was a bedroom in the loft, it would only give us 3 bedrooms in the structure. Is in compliance with all the provisions of this bylaw is except for the approval of the 19.4% variance. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is not maintained. This building is located at its closest on one corner of the side yard, 47.6 feet from the high water mark, because of a bay that tucks in on the side. The majority of the setback from the front of the cottage is over 80 feet. The variance requested is for 19.8% increase over the allowable 30% gross square footage increase based on the very shortest distance. No change to ground floor square footage is being requested. When it says the general intent and purpose of the official plan is not maintained, the website of the official plan states the official plan is a land use planning document, provides guidance for the long-term growth and development of the municipality. This will be a permanent residence for 2 full-time residents of the community who have a painting business and hire local workers. This application is a request to allow a minor variance to fit what would otherwise be airspace above the kitchen. The space could be used as a bedroom, giving them 3 bedrooms in total on the same footprint as the old cottage, or much needed storage space. The septic permit that was granted and installed is compliant with a 3-bedroom house. There is no justification for the proposed increase in gross floor area for the dwelling. It is not adding to the ground floor footprint, which would have been more disruptive to the surrounding lands. It is utilizing what would otherwise be dead air space within the approved plans. Offering a standard ceiling in the kitchen for lighting and proper ventilation of potential 3-bedroom or extra storage space above it. The dwelling would be constructed in a location that would comply with the zoning bylaw. A septic permit was already granted and put in place according to the submitted site plan that showed a dwelling in this location. A building permit was also granted on the original footprint of the previous cottage. The site plan was submitted and approved for what and where the structure and septic currently are. This construction is well underway since December 2023. So there was no option to build in a different place. It was never raised as necessary during the application process. In conclusion, the joists were installed above the kitchen is entirely responsible of the builder, which is me. There was some structural issues in my head about the height of the building and having something built across there. The fact that I went overboard, not them. They've taken the brunt of my mistake. All inspections were followed and inspectors were called according to process. It wasn't like we're trying to hide anything from anybody. They saw what we had done and reported it accordingly. Because of the ceiling joist system of the kitchen, all work has been halted, including work on the building structure, which has legal building permit. We couldn't backfill. We haven't been able to do anything since, regardless of touching the loft area. The application follows the recommendation of the planner to apply for a minor variance of 19.4% to finish that loft space, which would otherwise be airspace above the kitchen. with approval, construction can get back on track and these people have a finished home before winter. Thank you. I'm quite willing to take any questions you may have about any of that or go back and repeat any of those statements if you have any questions.
Questions? Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, firstly, I still don't understand how you can ask for a building permit and get a building permit that has no loft and then you put the loft in. I mean, you're a builder. You got to know that when you put that structure in, that you're constructing something that is supporting a.
As I
a
said
loft.
previously, I'm taking full responsibility for that. We put the LVL across for the structure of the building. And then I put the floor joists in.
Yeah. You know, what really concerns me is that this is shoot first and ask questions later, or shoot first and ask for forgiveness later. And I just, it really upsets me when you see something like that happen. So,
Well, I'm sorry, sir, you will have an opportunity to speak.
I've been building for a long time.
Just stick to facts that are relevant to the,
No, I know, but what I was asking about what I did, so I should be able to respond to that. It was a mistake that I've already admitted to, right? About the structure itself and the integrity of the structure was what started my thought process. Because of the height of the building and what we needed to go across it. I went overboard on what we did and I've admitted to that. I apologize to Sean for that as to what position we got ourselves into here. What my intent was not to create the circumstance that we're in, though it did turn out that way. And I agree with you because we went through a process that wasn't allowed. And I did that. I was looking at it and interpretation as it is as an attic, because there was attic space in the existing building, right, for storage and whatever. It wasn't accepted as an attic, it would only have to be a loft. I didn't see it as anything different than the structure we pulled down as far as the space or the floor space or the attic space that was already there. Actually, was more attic space in the other building than there was in this one. It wasn't my intent to build something that was beyond what was already in existence that we took down.
I still find that difficult to understand from an experienced builder. The other thing is on the floor plans that we have in the application. It shows the loft now. Is that because you've resubmitted for the
That's what we
purpose of the minor
resubmitted, so it
variance?
shows the loft with usage of the loft.
Okay, and if the loft wasn't there, where are the bedrooms that you're gonna have?
In the
there?
basement.
In the basement,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
There's only 2 bedrooms in the basement.
okay. And you said you couldn't find another space on the property, or you didn't consider that because
No,
it
we
wasn't
actually
a
did. We
question?
went through the process of applying for an addition on the back of the existing structure that was turned down. Or we had to go through the process that we're into right now, which brought up the environmental protection at that point. We did get a letter at that point from a gentleman that worked at the Ministry of Environment and handed that in to Sean. I think Sean attempted to contact that guy about his credentials, whatever, at that time. Time became an issue as far as carrying on through the process because we were going through a lot of delays as to getting permission. So it was never considered to build other than there. And when we could get granted to build on the existing structure, that's what we decided to do. It wasn't like we didn't go through a process of trying other alternatives. They became difficult to get approved. So they decided to build on the existing footprint, which was approved.
Okay, and
go ahead.
sorry, just an aside at the moment, Greg, I just want you to confirm that there is an extra cost now in them getting a permit. If we approve this, they'll have to pay extra money for the new permit.
Potentially, we could add on a square footage for the loft, but it's not. We've already issued the permit, it's already been paid for.
Mhm.
So if it had been like a bill from the get-go, our bylaw talks to a penalty, if you will, or double the permit fees.
Yeah.
But since it's already been approved and paid
Okay.
for, you know.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
cost is really not part of the planning approval
No,
process.
no.
Other questions for Mr. Scott, right? Go ahead.
So I understand your concern with the racking, right? Is that
Yeah.
what you're alluding to?
Yeah.
And then, because I don't think we got the building, I haven't seen the building permit, so I don't, but presumably they were engineered. And the engineer spec'd a one LVL across the middle to fight the racking, or is it because you started with an LVL and then you added to it? So I'm just
Yeah.
trying to understand what
Yeah, no, that was more my doing.
you added the
I
LVL.
added the LVL because of my concerns, with building, the height of the building, and we did, continuous framing up those sides.
Right,
The height concerned me.
right.
Um,
So that's the engineering, continuous framing, one member from top to
Right.
bottom. And that
Right.
was supposed to
Yeah,
mitigate that,
supposed to make it sufficient.
right?
Right.
Okay, that was it for me.
Questions, Member Richards? Anything?
You mentioned that when you were looking at the property in the other areas, it brought up the EP designation.
Yes.
That EP designation was brought up even if the entire dwelling had been moved further back into the lot? Like away from the water?
Don't know, you'd have to ask Sean that question. I don't know if we moved outside of the 100 feet, whether the EP designation would still be considered. I'm assuming it still would be. It would have to be addressed no matter where you were building it on the property. It would have to be addressed.
So the EP zone came up again and triggers the requirement for this letter or report from a qualified professional where they're rebuilding something that no longer complies with the bylaw. So if they were to have moved the building back and increased the size within the limits of the bylaw, no additional study would have been required. But because what they are proposing is outside of the bylaw requirements, that's what triggers the requirement for them to now provide the EP study.
That wouldn't have been the case if we were building outside the 100 feet.
Correct, because that would have then complied with the zoning bylaw.
Or would it still not be environmentally protected land?
So it's
Designation.
still designated as environmentally protected, but it
Still not
doesn't,
kick in the same thing.
it wouldn't kick in the same requirement, yeah.
Mr. Blanchette, did you wish to address the committee, or has your agent covered everything? If you need to come to the microphone. The purpose of that is if the public are listening, they can't hear you speaking unless, okay.
Didn't think you'd want me to shouting from the back of the room. So just to, it was very familiar, gentleman before us, that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to add to the existing building. The cottage is 1950, it's a log home sitting on the dirt. We thought it might be a good idea. We'll add to the back of it, makes for our dream home. We're gonna live here forever. We were told that, yes, we can apply for this, probably won't pass. So let's do the best thing and use our existing footprint. How safe is that? This is what we did. And so we had a whole attic that we used for storage. I can show you pictures of that proof. So we built our home. We thought it's only 680 square feet, it's small. So we need some storage. Let's do that. But if you can put pot lights over the kitchen. It's just not open air. It's just a big box, basically. So that's what we did. And because we were dissuaded, we were told it probably wouldn't pass if we wanted to go jump through the hoops and get the 1,000 square foot home and add it. It probably won't pass. So we decided, well, we need a home. Let's do this. So we used our existing footprint thinking that's about as safe as you can get. We weren't trying to be deceived. If we can get an extra bedroom up there, maybe, maybe not. It was basically storage. Really, 2 bedrooms downstairs, no real closet space. It's a small building. So we weren't really trying to, there's nothing nefarious going on. I think that was it. I was gonna say, yeah, so same footprint, we thought we'd be safe. And then a little bit of a ceiling over the kitchen, so we can put some pot lights, and if we can use that storage over top, that'd be great. And secondary, it shores up the whole building. I think you meant, I'm not a contractor, so I don't know the wording, but to tie everything together. So let's make it robust and strong and be there forever. That's all I really have to say. It's not the dream home we wanted at all. It's not what we planned. We wanted what the other gentleman wanted, add on to our existing building. Told probably not gonna get it. Probably not gonna pass.
But you also advised that you had an opportunity to come here and make the request.
Yeah, and probably get turned down. That's what we're told.
So just a point of clarification there, my exact words whenever I'm speaking to applicants is whether or not staff would be supportive or not of an application. And that ultimately a decision is up to the committee of adjustment to make. So,
Yeah.
Without necessarily saying what direction we might go.
yeah, but if I never tell someone they can't apply for an application.
Oh, no, I'm
yeah.
not suggesting that.
Yeah.
We were suggesting that we were told probably won't pass.
You know, I understand this is a difficult situation and you know, that you want to have a home here.
Mhm.
You know, from my perspective, I do think that there would have been an opportunity and I suspect it would have been better received by this committee if you had built on at the back. You'd have been able to add more room.
I would love to have done that.
Well, you know, I mean, it's too bad that you didn't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, this building without benefit of a permit, it seems to me that we talked about this lot before, that there was an agreement that it would not be built and that the plans would be changed, removing the loft, and that did not happen. It went ahead anyway. I'm with Member Rogers that you know, I really have a problem with asking for forgiveness, you know, after the fact. You're using a builder who knows better about what the process is. And you know, I really have a hard time saying yes to, well, we built it now, so you need to say, okay. Not to my comments, no.
So,
That's my impression and my decision making within my own mind about whether or not I would say yes or no. If Mr. Blanchette is done,
yeah, I'm just a guy that wants to have a house built. Honestly, I don't know the ins and outs. All I know was we had a building. We built it better and stronger and more attractive. It's way better than what we had. It's less than what we had. We used to have a whole second floor. Now we have less than half a second floor for storage. I personally,
it's-
as a layman, I don't understand the problem.
but it's not for storage, it's for another bedroom, from what I understand.
Perhaps, maybe.
On the plan that we submitted.
I'm sorry, sir, but when you're speaking, you need to be speaking into the microphone and
Okay, well,
that's,
I don't know, 'cause I don't really have much more. All I know is, we need a place to live. We thought it was advantageous to the neighborhood, to the property values, to have a brand new home built as opposed to a log home sitting in dirt. We didn't change the footprint an iota, not 1 inch. We use exactly the same footprint, except it's better and big and nicer, and it's actually less than what it was. It was a full attic before, with a hatch that we put stuff up there, because again, 600 square feet. I don't know if you have 600 square foot home, they're not big.
but not a full attic
We did have.
on another level up.
Yeah, we had a whole other level. We had
It was
access
3
to-
levels.
No, 1 level plus an attic. Now we have 1 level. And a little bit of a floor over the kitchen. I'm gonna pass it on to him, because he knows the work.
Member Rogers.
Right, just before you're finished, Mr. Blanchett, I wanted to ask if we approved this with a restriction that you cannot have living space on that second floor, that it's strictly for storage.
Sure.
Would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
That-
Closets.
Yeah.
Small basement, got 2 bedrooms down there. You do what you can, you know, you see people that are building these modular homes and they got things that come down. Storage is a huge thing. This is not for everyone. This is just a cottage.
Yeah.
This is someplace that we need to live and you accumulate things.
I
I
understand.
understand what you're saying. If you're put
I'm sorry, sir, you're not speaking into the mic.
well, musical chairs.
Well, you could have
Put a
2
closet
chairs
that
there
said
together,
no
but
Bedroom use as you storage,
Yeah.
that's fine. We'll use a bedroom downstairs.
Yeah.
It'll be a 2-bedroom home. It won't go to waste, I promise you that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, and
Yeah.
I understand your concern about storage, and this is something
Yeah.
that size, you need the storage space somewhere, and
sure.
that, so that would mean that at the moment, the plan I see in front of me, it shows a 3-piece bath upstairs on that loft, so we take that all out and just make it really storage space,
Mhm.
and that would be, I'm tending towards that is a potential.
best scenario for us.
Not the best for you,
But,
but it's a compromise.
That's what it takes to get me into my house. I will agree wholeheartedly. My wife is just, we are losing our minds. We're getting ulcers. We have no place to live. We're renting a 3-season cottage. Once the cold hits, we really don't know what we're gonna do
Exactly,
anymore. We're in a bad spot. We thought this would have been much easier, especially using the same footprint. We thought it's actually less than what we had. It's not what we had, but it's new and modern. How can they not possibly agree with us?
Yeah.
And here we are.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if you remember from the previous conversation, the original, my thoughts were it was an attic, not a loft. The application looks for a loft because we're gonna go through the process. We're gonna add living space. The reason we built it was for a loft or for an attic, not for a loft to start with. Okay, it was never intended to be living space.
And we thought about
One at a time. This can't continue to go back and forth,
Okay,
back and
I just
forth.
want to say.
And I'm just, what I need to say is that we need to be talking about planning and zoning. And I understand totally that, you know, that there's a lot of personal feelings about this and, you know, in your own life, challenges
Mhm.
about it.
Mhm.
We need to be basing our decision based on planning and zoning issues and
Absolutely. I was just gonna say, we're actually gonna put a wall. So it's just a contained little attic up there to use. That's all I wanted to add. And then we thought, well, wouldn't a loft be nice looking? Wouldn't it be nicer? That's pretty, this is aesthetics, really. I mean, and of course, would a 3rd bedroom be better? Maybe. I don't know. We have 2 bedrooms in the basement. It's not like we have nowhere to sleep. It's just, hey, wouldn't that be nice? Just wishful thinking, I guess, on our part. But not originally. It's after the fact. It's like, hey, you know what? Could probably do something here, but the original plans wasn't that. But again, I'm just a guy. I'm not a builder. So I'm gonna leave it at that because I don't know much else to say.
do committee members have any further questions? Member Richards.
I wanted to actually ask a question of Sean, sorry. The comment about the distance to the water, because of the bay and it being on the left corner. Is it true that it's mostly in excess of 80 feet? And how would that change the percentage allowance to the gross floor area if that was considered?
So yes, the closest point is in the bay. So when you're looking at the water to the left-hand side, and the shoreline does extend quite a ways down beyond that. But the way we have to take our measurement is the absolute closest point of the proposed building. So if they had been further back and fell into the next threshold in the zoning bylaw, the percentage increase permitted would have been 40%. However, my recommendation likely at that point still would have been denial, simply for the fact that there is room where the structure could be pushed back further, meeting the setback requirement. So that's a significant test that I'm looking at when reviewing these applications is why can't the bylaw be met? And in this case, I fail to see any reason why it cannot be met.
Any other questions? So I understand the resolution that you have on the floor is for denial. I just would reiterate to the committee that Sean has provided solid planning and zoning rationale behind his recommendation. So I would ask for a mover and a seconder to put the resolution on the floor. That is not saying yay or nay, that's just putting it on the floor for a vote. Member Rogers.
Sorry, I prefer to make a motion, and I think once again, Sean, it seems we've been going through this the last couple of times, but I would move that we approve the variance application on the basis that it is storage space only on the loft floor. and then our usual other terms be imposed.
Is there a seconder? Go ahead.
And so just a point on the storage space, if the committee does wish to go in that direction, it's still considered gross floor area. So it would be very difficult for us to enforce that, because it is livable space. So whether it's turned into a bedroom in the future after inspections are completed, it would be extremely difficult to ever enforce such a condition like that in this particular instance.
But if the plumbing's not there initially and those other parts to it, and if you put some beds up there, I'm realistic enough, but I also know that Mr. Blanchett has told us he needs storage space, and maybe it will actually be used for storage space.
Is there a seconder for what's being proposed by Member Rogers? Hearing none, I think we'll go with the resolution that we have on the floor. And a seconder for Sean's resolution, Member McLaren. All in favor?
Sorry,
Oh,
I'll have to read it. So moved by John Rogers, seconded by Fergus McLaren, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby refuses minor variance application HMV 1024 to seek relief from section 4.14.93 of the zoning bylaw to increase the maximum gross floor area permitted from 30% to 49.4%. For the purpose of constructing a 987 square foot dwelling for the following reasons. The variance is not minor in nature. It is not desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is not maintained. The general intent and purpose of the official plan is not maintained. There is no justification for the proposed increase in gross floor area for the dwelling, and the dwelling could be constructed in a location that would comply with the zoning bylaw.
If you want to take our vote one at a time.
A recorded vote, certainly. So John Rogers, yea or nay? Sorry, nay? Nay. Sabrina Richards, yea or nay?
Yay.
Fergus McLaren, yea or nay? Yay. And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
So that is carried.
So unfortunately, we've denied your application, and I'm not sure what next steps might be. I guess I would ask, would it be possible for the floor that supports the loft to be taken out and a subsequent application come forward with addition to the rear of the building?
Yes, that's an option. They could apply for an addition to the rear of the structure if that's what they choose to do. But at this point, the loft space does need to be removed before the stop work order can be lifted.
So there are, there are some options. It's not a matter of, tearing the building down and starting all over again, but I just wanted to determine from Sean whether there was a path forward for you.
Sure, I understand. It sounds punitive to me.
Sorry if you're going to speak.
I'm not sure if we have a problem with the loft space, or is this punitive for us going ahead with this? I don't understand. I really don't understand why you would not want that loft space. I don't get it within the same footprint. I don't understand.
I think this is a conversation we can have after the meeting.
We can't talk about that now.
This is a conversation that you would have with our planner and our builder, and I think you need to have probably with your own builder.
Okay.
There's some aspects of construction that have taken place without authorization or without benefit of permit.
Right. So it does sound punitive to me.
That's not the case.
Okay.
So if we can bring Member Richards back, please. Or sorry, Sharp.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is this next scheduled meeting, which would look to be, I think, maybe July the 26th.
Yes, that is correct.
Does that work for everybody? Okay, so we know that we'll have a couple of applications at least, or is the deadline by?
I'm not expecting any new applications in the next, well, early next week. So yeah, I suspect there will be only the 2 applications, but I can certainly let the committee know if that changes.
Okay. Having set the date, could I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, sorry, Member Rogers.
Just microphone.
If we,
Something that Sean and I were at the Ontario Association of Committees of Adjustment meetings, and certainly I found that I was told that we could actually share the materials with our committees if we wanted to. Because I was there for another municipality, I don't feel I can do the going out and saying, here's what we can share, but some really good slide decks, some really good presentations that were at that meeting, and perhaps we could just share that with the other members.
No, absolutely. That's a great idea. Yeah, I'd be happy to send that out. So
it's a good learning experience for you.
Wonderful. It's I go quite a bit, and they are just filled with great information. So
I might have to go to one of those
Yeah,
meetings
yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn? Member Fergus, Member Sharp.
Moved by Fergus McLaren, seconded by Christine Sharp. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns its regular meeting at 1:46 PM.
All in favor? That's carried.